You have the same eyes as a hunter-gatherer, the exact same equipment, same lens, same retina, same 200 million years of design. So here's a question nobody asks. Why do 8 or 9 in 10 young people in some cities need glasses when almost none of their great-grandparents did? Here is the number that should stop you. In one study of 19-year-old men in Seoul, 96% were short-sighted. 96 out of 100. Now go to a group living the old way, rates of 1 or 2%. Same species, same eye, a 40-fold difference. That gap did not come from genes. Genes do not move that fast. Something changed in one lifetime, and it is still changing now. Every layer of this is stranger than the one above. Let's go. Let's start with the number, because the number is why this is not a story about screens. Short-sightedness has a boring physical cause. The eyeball is too long. That is the whole condition. Not a weak lens, not tired muscles, a shape problem. Light comes in and focuses at a point. In a healthy eye, that point lands on the retina. If the eyeball grows a little too long, the point lands short of the back wall. Distance goes soft, close stays sharp. The numbers here are small and brutal. A normal adult eye is about 24 millimeters front to back. 1 extra millimeter costs you roughly 3 dioptres of distance vision. 1 millimeter. That is the thickness of a fingernail. So this is not damage. Nothing broke. The eye grew slightly wrong and stopped. And that matters because growth is controlled by something. Your eye is not built to a fixed blueprint. It measures and then it adjusts. A newborn eye is short and long-sighted. Over the first years, it lengthens until the focus lands right. That process has a name: emmetropization. It is a feedback loop. The retina reads whether the image is sharp, and the eye grows or stops to match. It works beautifully in a body that gets the input it expects, and it goes wrong in a body that does not. Now, the experiment that broke the field open, and it was not run in a laboratory. In the 1960s, a researcher named Francis Young went north to study Inuit families in Alaska. He tested people who had grown up on the land, hunting and traveling. Almost nobody was short-sighted, around 2%. Then he tested their own children, the first generation to sit in a school all day. More than half needed glasses. Read that again. Same families, same genes, one generation. The parents had 2%, the children had over 50. Nothing about their DNA had time to change. Nothing about their bodies was new. The only thing that changed was where a child spent the day. That single result is why we are not blaming genetics. Genes set the range. Something else picks the number inside it. Now, genes are not nothing here, so let's be precise about what they do. Researchers have found over 200 spots in the genome linked to refractive error. That sounds decisive. It is not. Put all of them together and they explain only a small slice of the variation between people. And they cannot explain speed. A gene pool does not move in 20 years. Look at what migration studies keep showing. Move a population, keep the genes, change the childhood. The number moves with the childhood every time. So the honest version is this. Genes set how sensitive your eye is to its environment. Some children are more reactive than others. That part is inherited. But the environment decides what those genes are reacting to. 2 brothers with the same risk, one raised outside and one raised indoors, do not end up the same. Now the second layer, and this is where most people guess wrong. Ask anyone why so many children need glasses and they will say screens. Or reading, close work. Your eye locks onto something near for hours and the shape follows. It is a good guess. It has been the leading theory for over a century, and when researchers went to test it properly, it did not hold up well. Here is the study that changed the conversation. Catherine Rose and her team compared 2 groups of children of Chinese ancestry, one group in Sydney, one group in Singapore. Same ancestry, similar schooling. In Singapore, 29% of the children were short-sighted. In Sydney, 3%. Nearly 10 times the difference in children whose grandparents came from the same place. Now look at what actually differed. The Sydney children read as much. Some read more. Close work did not explain it. One thing did. The Sydney children spend about 13 to 14 hours a week outside. The Singapore children spend about 3 time outdoors. Not books, not screens. Outdoors. Now the third layer, and this one is about light itself. Step inside a well-lit room and measure the light. You get maybe 300 to 500 lux. Step outside on a gray, overcast day. 10,000. Step outside in full sun. Up to 100,000. Read those 3 numbers again, because your eye does not experience them as similar. Indoors is not slightly dimmer than outdoors. It is 200 times dimmer. Your body has no way to tell you this. Your pupil closes, your brain adjusts, and a room feels bright. It is not bright. It is a cave with a window. And bright light does something specific inside the eye. The retina releases dopamine in response to strong light. That dopamine is a brake on growth. It tells the eyeball to stop lengthening. Take the light away, and you take the brake off. This has been tested in animals directly. Raise them under bright light, and the eye stays the right shape. Raise them under dim light, and it grows long. So the mechanism is not mysterious. The signal is light, the message is stop, and we removed the signal. And there is a second thing a room does to your eye, which has nothing to do with brightness. Stand outside and look at a hill. Everything far away sits at the same optical distance. Your eye can relax completely. The whole field is in focus at once. Now stand in a room. The far wall is 4 meters away. The side wall is 2. The floor at your feet is under 1. The page in your hand is 30 centimeters. Every part of that field demands a different focus, and most of it is close. The center of your vision is not the only thing being measured. The edges of the retina read the image too, and they steer growth as well. In a room, the edges are being told the world is near, all day. Outdoors, the edges are being told the world is far, also all day. 2 different instructions, sent to the same growing organ for a decade. There is even a seasonal fingerprint on this. Eyes lengthen faster in winter than in summer. Same children, same schools, same homework. Fewer hours of light. Now the animals, because this is where the mechanism stops being a theory. Put a lens in front of a growing eye and you can shift where the image lands. Do it one way and the eye grows longer to compensate. Do it the other way and it slows down. The eye corrects toward whatever it is shown, in both directions. Now, cover the eye with a translucent film, so there is light but no sharp image. The eye grows long. It keeps looking for a focus it cannot find. And here's the strange part. Cut the connection to the brain and it still happens. The retina itself is running the calculation. This is not a decision made anywhere clever. It is local, automatic, chemical machinery, and it has been running for a very long time. Now put that against the world we came from. A forager child is outside from the moment there is light. Ian Morgan, who spent years on this, puts the useful threshold at about 3 hours a day. 3 hours in real daylight and the risk drops hard. A child in a hunting group is not getting 3 hours. They are getting 10. They eat outside, they walk outside, they learn outside, they wait outside. That is not a healthy lifestyle choice. There is nowhere else to be. The dose of light that protects your eyes was not a habit, it was the floor. Put 2 days side by side and the arithmetic gets brutal. Take a forager child. Awake at first light. Outside all morning. Outside all afternoon. Call it 10 hours of daylight, in the eyes, every day, for a whole childhood. Now take a child today. School from morning to mid-afternoon, indoors. Homework after that, indoors. Evening at home, indoors. Break in the yard is maybe 40 minutes. Add the walk to the gate and back. Call it 15 more. On an ordinary day, you land near 1 hour outside. 10 hours against 1. That is not a lifestyle difference. For a growing organ, that is a different planet. And remember where the useful threshold sits. About 3 hours. The forager child clears it before breakfast. The modern child never reaches it at all. Nobody chose this. It is the sum of 100 sensible decisions. You were not designed to spend your childhood indoors. Read that again because everything in this video sits on it. Your eye is a growing organ that measures its own world and builds itself to fit. Give it a world made of horizons and it builds an eye for horizons. Give it a world where the far wall is 4 meters away and it builds an eye for 4 meters. It is not failing. It is doing its job with the information it was given. The eye did not get worse. The world got smaller. Some of you are thinking this is a modern panic and people have always had bad eyes. Fair question. And the answer is that ancient humans absolutely had eye problems. Just not this one. Start with the one that comes for everybody. The lens hardens with age. At about 45, close focus starts to go. It is called presbyopia, and it is universal. Every human who ever lived past 45 had it. Every one. For a hunter, this is almost nothing. Nothing important sits at arm's length. For a person threading a needle, it is the end of the job. And watch what people did about it without a single lens. They held the work further away until their arms ran out. They turned to face the sun, because a small pupil sharpens everything. That is a pinhole, made of your own iris, and it genuinely works. They squinted for the same reason. Squinting is free optics. And they handed the fine jobs to the young. The delicate stitching is done by 20-year-old hands. A society without lenses solves aging eyes by moving the task, not fixing the eye. Then there is clouding of the lens with age. That one is ancient, and it is serious. And there is the vitamin story. A body short of vitamin A loses night vision first. Eat liver, and it comes back within days. People worked that out without knowing why. There were also old infections of the eyelid that scarred the eye over decades. So the picture is clear. Ancient people had aging eyes, cloudy eyes, and infected eyes. What they did not have is a room full of 8-year-olds who cannot read a hillside. The one problem that dominates modern eyes is the one that is almost absent in the old world. Now, what did they actually do about it? The tools are older than you would guess. A needle to move a clouded lens out of the way is described in India more than 2,000 years ago. It does not restore sharp sight. It moves the obstruction and gives back light and shape. That was the state of the art for a very long time. The Babylonians wrote fees for eye procedures into law. That is roughly 3,700 years ago. A price list tells you it was routine. Nobody sets a price for something nobody does, and the correction we take for granted is astonishingly recent. And notice what had to happen first for anyone to want them. Lenses were not invented for eyes. Ground crystal existed long before that. What was missing was a reason. Almost nobody spent hours a day resolving small marks. Then a printing press arrives in the 1440s and books stop being rare. Within a century, there are people whose whole job is reading, all day, indoors. Demand for close vision is created, and only then does an industry appear to serve it. The first spectacles appear in Italy around 1286. 2 lenses, a frame, and suddenly an old craftsman can work another 20 years. Notice what they were for. Reading, close work, age. Nobody was making distance glasses for children because there was no market. That market is about 150 years old. Now, how good was ancient distance vision? Better than yours, and not by a little. When researchers tested people living traditionally, acuity above the standard normal turned up regularly. Being able to resolve detail at twice the standard distance was not remarkable in those groups. Think about what that buys you. Movement on a ridge at a kilometer, a shape in the grass that is the wrong color, a bird circling over a carcass. Tracking is a vision task before it is anything else. A print in dust is a pattern of shadow a few millimeters deep. You are reading light on the ground at walking speed for hours. Distance was not a luxury for these people. Distance was the whole channel. And optics is only half of what a good tracker has. Roughly a third of your cortex is doing something with vision. A third. No other sense gets that kind of real estate. Most of that machinery is not about sharpness. It is about search. Knowing which part of a hillside is worth a second look is a trained skill. Experienced trackers do not scan evenly. They check the places where a print survives. So the old advantage was 2 things stacked: a well-grown eye and 20 years of practice using it. We kept neither. The eye grows in a room, and the search never gets trained. And then the sun goes down, and the other half of the job starts. Your retina has 2 systems, one for daylight and color, one for the dark. The dark one takes its time. Full adaptation runs about 30 to 40 minutes. Sit in real darkness that long and you can navigate by starlight. Almost nobody alive has done it. One glance at a bright light resets the clock. For 200,000 years, every night ended with that adaptation intact. There was one fire, and beyond it, an eye tuned all the way up. That is a mode of your own vision you have probably never entered as an adult. It is still installed. It is just never asked for, and it takes half an hour to answer. So, what ended it? Not screens. Screens are far too recent. The curve was climbing long before them. The classroom. Universal schooling is the moment a childhood moves indoors, on purpose, by law. Look at the order of events. Compulsory schooling spreads through the 1800s. Myopia in students is being noticed and measured by the middle of that century. The screens arrive 150 years later, into a trend already running. Then cities grow up, and the sky gets smaller. Then homework. Then indoor leisure. Then air conditioning, which quietly makes staying inside pleasant. Every step is comfortable, and every step removes light. And here is the price, in numbers. Across urban East Asia, rates in young adults now run near 80 to 90%. One large projection puts myopia at about half the world by 2050. Nearly 5 billion people. The severe end matters most. High myopia carries real risk to the back of the eye later in life. That is not an inconvenience with a glasses prescription attached. That is a lifelong condition. And the cost is not only medical. A child who cannot see a hillside stops looking at hillsides. And there is one more thing worth knowing about the obvious fix. A pair of glasses moves the focus back onto the retina. It does not stop the growth. The eye that was lengthening yesterday is still lengthening today, now with clearer input. That is why a prescription tends to climb through childhood and then settle in the 20s, which is exactly what you would expect from a growing organ, not from a broken part. Modern lens designs try to speak the eye's own language and slow the signal down. But the strongest lever anyone has found is still free, and it is outside the window. Now the part that changes the mood, because this one is not a lecture about loss. The same feedback loop that broke it can be used deliberately. In Taiwan, schools ran a program built on one instruction. Children go outside for 120 minutes a day. Not exercise, not sport. Outside, in daylight, for 2 hours. New cases fell. The national trend, which had climbed for decades, bent the other way. Pei-Chang Wu and colleagues ran the trials behind it, and the effect held up. Nothing was added. No drug, no device, no training. Light was given back. That is the strongest possible evidence that the eye is not broken. It is a system, waiting for an input it has expected for 200,000 years. So what if we have the whole thing backwards? What if short-sightedness is not a defect in a child? What if it is a measurement, and what it measures is how much sky that child got? The eye is doing arithmetic on the world it was handed. It is not wrong. It answered the question correctly. We just gave it a strange question. And look at what the same system does when the input is right. It builds an instrument that reads a ridge at a kilometer and a footprint at a meter. The same organ, the same rules, a different childhood. Your eyes are not weaker than your ancestors. They were raised in a smaller room. We traded a horizon for a page, and most of us never even knew it was gone. So the next time you step outside and everything feels slightly too bright, notice that feeling properly. That is not glare. That is the light level your eyes were built in and you are visiting. Now I want to hear from you. How old were you when you got your first pair of glasses, and how much of your childhood was spent outdoors? Put both numbers in the comments. I have a theory the two are related.